So I will let folks who are coming in, I'll let them in as they join us, but let's start. So, okay, I will put that live. I hope Jennifer has put it live on the YouTube and Channel 5. So hello, everyone. My name is Pramod Pradhan, and I am the Community Engagement Librarian at West Hartford Public Library. I would like to welcome everyone to tonight's program, Neighbors from Around the World Speakers Forum. Everyone who's joining us through the webinar and who are watching us live from YouTube and West Hartford Interactive TV. Tonight's program is also broadcast live from West Hartford Interactive TV, which is Channel 5, and also through their YouTube channel, and of course, through this webinar. On June 20, 2021, the world observed the United Nations World Refugee Day. The event honors the courage, strength, and determination of women, men, and children who are forced to flee their homeland under threat of persecution, conflict, and violence. We celebrate this day by sharing, learning, and listening from those community groups. The theme for 2021 World Refugee Day was Together We Heal, Learn, and Shine. It has been an amazing partnership and collaboration between the West Hartford Public Library and Golden Door, a center for immigrants, to bring in programs like this to the community. I would like to thank especially to Ellen, who is also a founder president for Golden Door, who has been a lead to coordinate this event and also moderating this forum tonight. I would like to thank Esam, Tara, and Mary, who will be our panelists and will be sharing their story, The Journey of Courage, to the audience tonight. And also special thanks to West Hartford Interactive TV and Jennifer, Executive Director at West Hartford Interactive TV, to put this program live on Channel 5 and broadcast live from West Hartford Interactive TV's YouTube channel. And also remember, this program will also be available to view as a recording on YouTube if you want to share or review this program at some other time. This program is made possible through grant funding from Avon-Canton Rotary Club. So without further ado, I would like to pass it over to Ellen. Hello, Ellen, and welcome to the program. All right, it's all up to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Pramod. I'm going to just sort of reiterate a couple of things. And first, thank Pramod, who's just a fun and wonderful person to work with. So thank you. I'm going to also say thank you to the Rotary Club of Avon-Canton for funding this. And I absolutely positively want to thank all of the speakers who are here. And I want to then quickly tell you, those of you who saw our flyer will notice that we're missing one person. So I just want to tell you a little bit of a program change that happened really recently. And that is, we were supposed to have another speaker, Nella, who's originally from Peru. And unfortunately, her boyfriend's grandfather just died. And so she went home with him to Puerto Rico to be with their family. And I'll tell you a little bit about Nella because she has an amazing story, just like everybody else here. But I want to thank Esam he was supposed to be our moderator, and he has agreed to very quickly fill in as a speaker. And Esam is an amazing speaker, so we're lucky that he was very willing to do that. And I'm going to take over Esam's role as moderator, so we are moving things around here just a little bit because of Nella. So let me tell you just really quickly a little bit about Nella. Nella originally came from Peru at the age of 3. I'm telling you this because I'm still hoping Nella will be able to be a speaker maybe in a future forum. We wanted someone whose story represented sort of south of the border, and she was going to be that person. But mainly Nella is amazing in and similar to Mary and Tara and Esam in the amount of work that she's done. She was a student of mine this semester at University of Hartford. She was helping her mom to get legal status. She worked more than full-time. She was a full-time student, and she and her mom were helping to raise money to send back to Peru because Peru was having a really hard time during the pandemic. And so that was part of her interesting story. Anyway, so moving away from Nella, and again, I'm hoping that she'll be able to join us another time. I want to just say really quickly, Pramod mentioned World Refugee Day, which I think is so important on June 20th, which we decided to do this program sometime around there to honor refugees. Mary and Tara both were born and grew up in refugee camps, so they're going to tell you part of that. And we all think that it's really important to recognize, or I shouldn't speak for everybody, I think it's really important to recognize, and since 1951, right after World War II, the world, the United Nations and the world sort of came together and decided that we all have a responsibility to help people who need to get out of wherever they are for dangerous reasons. And so this is also a celebration of that, of the world recognizing how important it is to help refugees from across the world. Just really quickly, and then I'm going to be quiet and move it over to our speakers. The reason we do these forums, and Pramod and I have been doing these for a couple of years together now. We do usually 2 a year. It sort of has a two-pronged purpose, I think. One is that we want to get people who have these amazing, difficult journeys, but are successful, and hold them up as inspiration to maybe newer immigrants who are here and still struggling and maybe feeling discouraged, and be able to see people who are making the most amazing contributions. They're not only an inspiration, I want to say, to new immigrants, they're always an inspiration to me. So I just want to say that as well. And the other prong of why we do this is for those of us who are not immigrants ourselves and just maybe read in the newspaper or see on social media things about immigration. It's a complicated, difficult, always fraught situation. And I think that the best way for us to learn about really what the immigrant experience is to hear from immigrants themselves. And so that's why we do this. And we're never disappointed. So just really quickly about the format of this, we're going to have each speaker speak for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to open it up to all of you who are out there. We can't see you, but there is a Q&A little button on the bottom. And when all the speakers are done, we would love for you to ask questions through that and have them answer it. Usually we do this thing in person. This is the first time we've done it on Zoom. And we usually have food available. And so I'm encouraging all of you to go get some guacamole or popcorn. And I know Esam already has a cup of tea. So make yourselves comfortable. And this is a little weird that we can't see you. We are hoping that the next forum is going to be in person, fingers crossed. But anyway, sit back and relax. And just on a personal note, I want to say that it's been a pleasure to work with these speakers and with Pramod. I just really personally like each of these people, and I have a feeling you're going to like them too. So I just want to say that. Okay, all right, I'm done. One of my other jobs is to do little bios of everybody, introduce them. So we're going to start with Tara, and here's a little tiny bit about Tara. First of all, I just noticed that she's wearing the refugee pin, Tara. I have the same pin. I wish I'd worn it, but anyway. She's adorable and always looks nice. Okay, Tara Mishra's family is originally from Bhutan. She herself was born and raised in a refugee camp in Nepal. She and her family came to Hartford, Connecticut in 2012. She went through Hartford Public School, and after that, she went to the University of St. Joseph here in West Hartford, where she just graduated with a degree in social work. She has interned at the Immigration and Refugee Coalition, CIRC. I don't know if Bob Fishman's out there or not in our audience. And Tara's plan is to move on and get a master's degree now and become a therapist. I think maybe work with immigrants as a therapist. So I've known Tara for a while. I can also tell you she does a lot for her family and helps out other friends and students a lot, and she's a joy. Here's Tara.
Thank you, Ellen, for the nice introduction. Good evening, everyone. I just want to start off saying that thank you for giving me this opportunity today to share my story. I live in Hartford, Connecticut. I am from Nepal, and if anybody doesn't know where Nepal is located between India and China. The best way to describe Nepal is we have the tallest Mount Everest. Like we have the tallest mountain in the world, which is called Mount Everest. I was born in refugee camp, and I spent 14 years of my life in the camp. And the question is how I became refugee. My parents were born in Bhutan, and according to my parents, and I also did some research. In 1990s, my parents and thousands other Nepali-speaking people escaped from Bhutan to Nepal because of ethnic issue, because of religion, because of culture, because of language issue. They escaped to Nepal, and that's how they came to Nepal, and that's how they became refugee. We had 7 different refugee camp in Nepal. So I was in one of those refugee camp, which is called Potri. So my life in camp was quite different from how I live in Hartford, Connecticut. Uh, Living in refugee camp give me so many memories. There are so many good memories. Also, there are so many challenging memories, such as not having enough food, not having enough shoes, or not having enough clothes. So if I think about those moments now, it just makes me remind me how thankful I am today to be in Hartford, Connecticut. Um, so, like I said, my life was totally different than Hartford, Connecticut in a refugee camp. My house was made up from bamboo and thatch. Our house was not that stable, especially when it rains or like when it's really windy. We constantly had to worry about that our house gonna break down or it's gonna drain inside of the house. We didn't have electricity or heater at home. We had to use candle when we were studying at night time. We had a bathroom outside, but we had to share with 5 different households. And also for the water tape, we had like water fountain. It's like we call water tape. We used to share with 65 different households. It's like saying that early birds get the worm. So whoever get in the water fountain first, they get the water. They give water 2 times a day. So sometimes people had to wait like hours and hours to get the water. Um, Talking about school, we didn't have enough resources at school. Like we didn't have chair to sit down, and we didn't have table to put down our backpack. And but in some high school they do, but in elementary and middle school they don't have chairs and table. And no matter how great you do in school, or like no matter how wonderful a student you are, you never get the scholarship. For the school. And also talking about the food, there was an organization, they used to give us food like every 15 days, but it was unlimited. Like some family, they constantly have to worry about what they're gonna have for the next meal. They constantly have to worry about the food. We didn't have access to better healthcare. We didn't have quality of good education. I'm gonna show you some pictures I have from the camp. Hold on. This was how our house used to look like in the camp. Our house was made up from bamboo and thatch. The house was so close to each other. And the second picture, that's my mom. We had to wash dishes outside. That's my mom. And that's the water fountain that I'm talking about. We have to go early to get the water, and we have to wait in the line. And we had to sit on the floor. We didn't have a chair and table to sit, and that's how we used to sit over there. And that was our school in the camp. Now I'm gonna stop sharing. Um, So, and when I was in eighth grade, my family decided to move to America. It was like 9 years ago with the hope of better opportunity. We came here with the help of United Nations, and they gave us the 7 options to choose, and we choose America, like Hartford, Connecticut, because our cousin and our aunt were already here a year earlier than us. So we just follow their path to come here. So when we first come to Hartford, I was like really shocked. So to see the beautiful road with the traffic light, also the car, because like in Nepal, like I have never seen those kind of like traffic light, like car was our dream. To have a car was our dream. So I was really shocked. We didn't have electricity, like I mentioned. Um, but the life here was too standard for me. When I mean to say too standard was like, like I said, we had to share one bathroom with 5 different households. But here, we had bathroom for ourselves. We didn't have to share water fountain with anybody else. So it was just so different. Even the grocery shopping, it wasn't really different, but it's just like so organized, and it's just so huge. There were like so many things that surprised me. um, it's like when I was new to school, like when I started going to school here, it was really hard for me to make friends, because I wasn't really used to public speaking, especially when I had to work in the group project or something. It always scared me that I had to do like public speaking, and I always feel left out because of the language. Growing up, I had so many friends, but I always had the friends who speak the same language, who are from the same culture. But here, I was so shocked to see diverse population, and I wasn't really used to hanging out with them. So it was really hard for me to connect with them. But as time began, I kind of adopt that. But for my parents, they are still still challenging for them. They cannot communicate with anybody outside of our family, so it's still challenging for them. So like one story that I like to share is like when I was brand new to this country. It was like 2 days after I came to America. We had to go to Catholic charity, and I had a caseworker. He took us to Catholic charity, but coming back, I didn't know that I have to look up the bus number, and I ended up taking. I had my little brother who was 4 years old, and I had my cousin 2 years old with me, and I told my caseworker, it's okay, I got it. I know how to get back home, and then I ended up taking different number of bus, and I didn't know where it was taking, and I got lost for 5 hours. And then I saw a security guard on the way, and I thought it was police. And then I tried to ask him, where's my house? And he was like, what's your address? And I was trying to like tell him, but I didn't know my own address, because like nobody told me that I had to remember my city, my house number, or anything. I wasn't prepared coming here, so I didn't know anything. And then eventually one Nepali guy found me on the way, me and my cousin, my brother, and he brought us home. But my parents were really scared, and my aunt, and they ended up calling police. um, yeah, but I'm really thankful. I'm always thankful for Catholic charity. They help us to apply for the green card. They help us to apply for health insurance, food stamp, and all those things when I was new to this country. The another story that I like to share is two of my sister got married when they came to America, right after they came to America, and I had to take over their roles. Um, like such as I had to translate for my parents, take them to hospital, talking to landlord, going to college and helping my parents. And also I was working at the same time. It was really difficult for me. Back then in Nepal, my dad suffered from mental illness, schizophrenia, for last 19 years. When we were there, like he didn't get treatment, better treatment. And, when I recall my childhood, every time I recall my childhood, I always remember like struggling, my dad struggling with mental illness. But thank God we are here today. He's getting treatment here. He's getting health care. My sister is going to college. My little sister is going to UConn. And I'm the first one to graduate from college. I got the college degree. I'm the first one. One thing, family separation can be a trauma because it has been like 28 years. My mom hasn't met her mom. My mom, since my mom left the Bhutan, and my mom always talk about her parents, how she want to meet them, how her life was because of, refugee status. She hasn't met them. And my goal for my parents is I want to take them to Bhutan one day, and so she can see or I can see my grandparents. I love Hartford, but my parents wants to move to Cincinnati, Ohio, eventually in the future, because we don't really have Bhutanese community in Hartford. But in Ohio, they have a huge community over there, and my parents cannot speak English. So, like having a community makes you feel some sense of belonging. So they want to move there because, they can communicate with other people, they can have friends. And my advice for new immigrants in this country is, don't lose hope just because you're in this country. Like, eventually you will learn. Not knowing the language can be difficult. Not having the friends can be difficult. Not having the family can be difficult. Uh, but I know it is challenging, but don't forget that we are resilient people. We've been through a lot and we got this. And the last thing that I like to tell you is, you have so much opportunity in this country, and you have opportunity to learn new language, try different food, learn new language or cultures. Please explore all of those things. Yes. And if you have a question, please ask me at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Yeah, I want everybody to know that Tara was definitely leaving things out, and she was telling me she has so many things she wanted to say. And I said, well, hopefully people will ask you in the Q&A, so you'll have more time to talk. So please make sure you do that. I'm going to move on to Esam in a second, but I just want to, as I'm watching everybody here, I'm watching Mary shake her head in agreement with so many things that Tara is saying, which I think is, they come from two completely different countries, and they hadn't met before this, but it just shows you that I think there's some real shared experiences that people go through, no matter where they're from when they get here. So I'm enjoying watching Mary's reaction. Okay, we're going to move on to Esam now, and let me read you Esam's little bio. Ready, Esam? Okay, Esam is a human rights activist from Egypt. He began his career as an activist over 10 years ago when he and a group of 6 other youth leaders gathered on the steps of Egypt's Supreme Court, calling for justice, freedom, and democracy in the first direct protest against the president in over 6 decades, excuse me. His passion led him to play a key role in the Egyptian Revolution of 2011, which helped overthrow the longtime dictator Hosni Mubarak, excuse me. Following the 2011 revolution, Esam worked with international leaders to push for a stable democracy in Egypt. During the Mohamed Morsi presidency, Esam worked for USAID. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison for his work and his protests to bring democratization to Egypt. Esam then moved to Washington, D.C., where he worked for the U.S. Institute for Peace. He received his MA from Cairo University. And I want you to know that Esam has just completed another master's degree, this time from the University of Connecticut in public policy. And he's going to be pursuing a PhD as well. He is also currently the co-chair of the West Hartford Human Rights Commission. And I want you to know that I had to cut some things out of there because Esam's bio is long and amazing and incredible. And I'm going to let you hear him instead of me talking about his story. So thank you, Esam. Here you go.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for the event, for inviting me, and for everyone who's watching or participating. The first time when you reached out to me asking to be a moderator and I get to meet our amazing speakers, I was so excited to be part of sharing those powerful stories of 3 powerful women. It was very impressive, and I feel a little bit sad now that I had to move to the speaker role, which I feel like with those 2 giants, it will be very hard to introduce something that will be meaningful. They did a great job, and they have amazing stories as well. So my story as an immigrant here to United States is basically, it summarizes the idea of how or where this country should look like or should go. It's the story of every one of us and the dream that we all idealize this country of which we live in, and sometimes we miss the mark, but hopefully we all are fighting to go back again on track. I grew up in Egypt to a middle class family. My dad used to work for the government. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, a full-time mom, which was way harder than my dad's job at that time. I grew up, I had everything I needed. I didn't have any struggles in my childhood, and I was very fortunate and privileged for everything I have. But by the time I graduated college and I started reaching out to more employment and professional opportunities, I noticed that those privileges are actually limited to a very small portion of the community of the country. If you have a strong network, if you're coming from a big family, or you have an influencer last name, you will have unlimited resources and unlimited opportunities. But over 99% of the rest of the country, young people, unemployment rate was all-time high, corruption was all-time high, and we didn't even have any public health system. And the country was run by a dictator, Hosni Mubarak, who ran the country for 3 decades, and he was grooming his son to take over after him. And after I graduated college, I found my mom already ready with my future bride, and asking me that, telling me actually that everything is set up and I just should get married and start a family with my new career. And that was very surprising, because when I shared this piece of information with my friends, the reaction was really unique and was different than I expected. And the reaction was like, I'm a selfish person who lives in a small bubble that doesn't understand what's beyond that. And I did a lot of research and more reading to understand why my childhood friends would react that way to my mom having a pride for me. And I noticed how demeaning the situation in Egypt is, and how an old country with amazing civilization and amazing history is ran by just corrupt group of elite people who are running the country just only for their own benefits, not for the country benefits, or not even for anyone else's benefit. So along with a group of young people, we decided to do something, and we attended our very first protest in Cairo, downtown. We were young. We were 7 young people with big dreams and very tiny voices. We tried to do some noise in the country to just tell people that the situation we are facing is unjust and must come to an end. And the only way we do this is to challenge the regime and to challenge the corrupt government. That was the only way to do that. But of course, as a country, we're witnessed for the first time in a very long time a protest against the president himself. That was something new, and all of the security forces in the country will never allow such a thing to happen. So they start chasing us just for protesting. Literally, we were 7 people standing in front of the Supreme Court, raising some signs, handmade signs at home, saying against down with Mubarak and end corruption. And we're yelling with our tiny voices the same words of freedom and justice for all. And that was enough for them to chase us and attack us. And I got arrested and I ended up in prison that day. And my visit to prison after that was very frequent, more than I would like, or maybe that more than anyone would like. And those visits were unpleasant. It was the philosophy of those days and of those arrests just to break you down and stop you from resisting this current affair of our country. And the more pain they caused to us, or to me personally, the more resemble I became, and the more resistance it grew inside me to end this. And the hope was, if I will suffer some pain now and I work hard to stop that, no one else will suffer the pain. And we will end the cycle of torture and injustices and disappearing and all of those horrible treatments that our country and our youth will seek. We started organizing, and of course, because of those challenges, our movement was an underground movement. We couldn't go into public. Internet was something new in that time. That was 2007. Internet was new, Facebook was new, Twitter was new, especially Facebook. So we mobilized on that. We decided how to be creative on using those new tools to be able to reach out to as many people as possible in an underground way, in a more secure and safe ways that will be able to build the network at the same time, keep the network safe and unbroken. And that was the challenge. And through that time and through a lot of hard work and visiting almost as many towns and cities and villages in the country as possible, advocating for the principles and the dream that we all have been dreaming for a long time, the movement got stronger every day. And also, as the stronger the movement would become, as the bigger the challenges also will come and the harassment will come. I was fired from my prestigious position at Cairo University, the biggest university in Egypt and the Middle East. I was denied employment in any place I would apply for, and the only way I could get any employment was someone who had also another human rights organization and was in prison also in that time, and he offered me a job with his organization to advocate more for human rights and allow me to continue my work, and I'm forever grateful for this opportunity. After a year and a half, we started organizing a big strike against the president, and the strike was based on against the new economy policy of the new cabinet of the president, where they laid over thousands of workers with no right whatsoever, with no also any severance package. They just showed up to work one day, and the government told them, you have no job anymore, and you have to go home with no money and any safety net whatsoever. We organized a strike North Cairo, and the strike was very successful. For the first time, we saw thousands of people, tens of thousands of people in the street, sharing our dreams and sharing our voices and sharing the words that we were chanting against Mubarak. And at the same time, that was the significance of that day, that for the first time, we actually climbed a high billboard advertisement thing and took down the portrait of the president in the entrance of the city. And that was a significant move because that was the symbol of power of the president. And now we took it down, and in a clear message that you are the problem, not your government or not anything else. And only freedom and democracy will be the solution for our country. After that day, the struggle the challenges were significantly increased, and we had to face a lot of challenges and how to be safe, how to be secure, how to communicate in a secure way, how to create more creative ways to communicate with each other and to organize events. And the danger was like literally if we will have a meeting just like this or an event just like this with 5 people coming together in an event to talk about any topic whatsoever, we will end up in prison because that was counted illegal to gather 5 people or more. And that was how much the fear and the police was controlling every aspect of our country. If you will ever get a job in any school or any university, you have to have security clearances just to teach a class in any university, even if this class was about agriculture or children development, whatever the class is, you still have to have security clearance to be able to do that. And everything was just so tight against us, and we tried to do something that the best as possible. In December of 2010, a huge strike began in Tunisia, where the president decided to flee the country and run away again because of the pressure of the Tunisian people against the president, against his corrupted policies as well. And in Egypt, at the same time, they were preparing to celebrate the Police National Day. And inspired by the spark of freedom in Tunisia, we decided to advocate and lobby for a protest on the Police National Day against the police brutality. And we decided to go out on the street against police brutality and just share flowers. It was the flower day, share flowers with people who were hurt by the police. And because of that, we started organizing a massive campaign, a nationwide campaign to invite people to join us on January 25th. Just share flowers, listen to cases of people who get mistreated by the police, one of which was a 55 years old man was in the bus one day, and a police officer who's 22, 23 years old came up on the bus and asked the old man to give him his seat. So the man told him, like, you seem healthy, you're a young, healthy police officer, you're well trained to stand for a very long time. There's no reason for an old man like me to give you the seat. And the police officer did nothing but took the guy to prison and was sentenced to 5 years for insulting a police person. That how much all the stories that we start sharing, and this is how much the situation was bad when it comes to police brutality in Egypt. We start sharing all of those stories using social media, Facebook and internet, using blogs and Facebook stuff. We also start writing graffiti everywhere we go and inviting people with every way possible to join us. And we were hoping to have 10,000 people, our maximum hope to have 10,000 people strike in Tahrir Square, whereas it's the heart of Cairo, where all the government buildings, all the parliament buildings, all the foreign embassies, all the international businesses, all the international hotels and everything like that, everything is Tahrir Square. So we wanted to occupy Tahrir Square with 10,000 people for at least a day or two, hoping that will put some pressure on the government and the international community to achieve some reforms in the country. On that day, we actually we had more than 10,000 people on the street, and the first reaction of the regime was to shoot everyone. They started shooting on us tear gases, rubber bullets, and then they started shooting us with live ammunition. Many people got killed that day on the street, and in front of TV cameras all over the world. And the blood of our friends and our loved ones with us in the square fed our feelings to translate these sacrifices into a strong movement that will end and put an end to a regime like Mubarak regime. And within 3 days, which is Friday, January 28th, that was a Friday, and this is the holiday in Egypt, and this is the weekend in Egypt where everyone goes to the noon prayer at the mosque, and everyone is out. So we organized that day around the time of prayer when people start leaving after prayers, and to invite them to join our movement. In every city, in every major city, in every street in Egypt, we had millions of people, millions of young people, all ages, genders, ethnicities, races, colors, religion, background, education background, came out in the street chanting a few words that we had created 5 years before in front of the Supreme Court. But that day, we were not 7 people anymore. We were millions of Egyptians who were eager and looking strongly forward a free country, democratic country, secular country, where it respects every single person despite their genders, sexual orientation, religion, ethnicity, color. We were so eager, and we were so strong in our beliefs, and to me that day was one of the most amazing days of my life, as long as I live. When I saw all of those millions of people believed in a dream that began very small in our heart, and we didn't know where it will take us and how it will end, but because it was honest and it was sincere, it reached all of those millions, and they followed us, and they put literally their lives at risk. That day, Mubarak summoned the military to come down with their tanks and militant cars, where they crushed many skulls in that days, and used snipers to shoot in our heads and faces. Where in one day we lost 1,500 young men and women in Egypt, and just asking for freedom and democracy in Egypt. The price was very high and was very hurtful. I myself lost one of my friends who was running next to me on the bridge crossing the Nile River into Tahrir Square, and I tried to carry him, but he was bleeding so much and asking me to leave. He felt he was dying, and he asked me to leave him and just try to save my life instead of both of us getting shot and killed. And every night, I still remember, and I see his blood in my hands and in my shirt. After Mubarak was gone, Mubarak decided to leave after the pressure, and we succeeded to occupy Tahrir Square, and we demanded nothing. But before any negotiations, we demanded that Mubarak must go, and all of his regime and cabinet must go. We succeeded in that, and we thought this is the end of our struggle. I was one of the co-founders for the biggest political party after the revolution. And I shot my campaign. I started my campaign to run for the Egyptian Senate in Egypt, and my agenda was equality and accountability. And I had a simple question that I carried my dead friend, and I just want to know who killed my friend. And in that time, the military was in power. After Mubarak was gone, the military took over in a transition period in Egypt, and because the military leaders know very well who shot those innocent, peacefully protesters, they decided to put an end to my campaign, and I was arrested again, and I was sent to prison again, and my trial in the criminal court lasted for 18 months. My crime on paper was working for a human rights organization. That was my crime. But all of the state-controlled media, which is almost 85% of the Egyptian media in that time, now it's 100%, but in that time was almost 85%, plastered my name as a CIA agent who was taking a lot of money from the CIA to ruin the country and cause chaos. Because of that, I was released after 18 months. The verdict came, and I was found guilty. And I had to flee the country, and I arrived to Washington, D.C. in 2013. began my life in the country, and I ended up in Connecticut three years ago, where now I'm the co-chair for Human Rights Commission in West Hartford. I think I should stop it. I went way above my time, so I will stop here, and I welcome any questions you have for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Esam. I've heard your story several times, and every time I'm kind of blown away. What I would say, there's nothing really to follow what Esam just explained, except to say that he's carrying on as an activist in this country, and he's very involved. And when he talks, I can't help but think about what's happening in this country, which is not as horrible as what happened in Egypt, but his sort of fierce fight for democracy always makes me think how it's so important that we hang on to ours here. But maybe he wants to speak to that later. And the other thing that I always think about is I know that all of our speakers, including Esam, sort of have within them a lot of pain and things that they've seen that most of us in this country have never seen. And you don't know that. I think most of us in this country don't really know what a lot of immigrants and refugees, and Esam, who's a political asylee, what they're walking around with inside of them, because they're often the calmest and the smilingest and the most accomplished of people, but they've seen and experienced things that most of us haven't. So now I'm going way over time. Okay, thank you, Esam. Let me tell you about Mary, who's still shaking her head because I think she still is relating to kind of what the other speakers are saying. So before I'll get to this in a second. Mary U's family is Karen, and the Karen are an ethnic group from Burma or Myanmar. She was born and raised in a refugee camp in Thailand, similar to what Tara experienced. She came to America in 2007 with her family. She has 2 brothers and 1 sister, and she's the oldest sibling, which I think is often significant because it comes with a lot of responsibility. She lived in Connecticut for 12 years, during which time she graduated from the University of St. Joseph, just like Tara just did, and also with a degree in social work. She later moved to Minnesota for job purposes, where she's living now. She likes to cook and spend time with her family, she said. And what I want you all to know is that she got married less than a week ago, and that she actually is joining us from our honeymoon right now, which makes me feel a little bad, but I think it shows you how committed she is and what a wonderful person she is. And so I want to thank her so much for joining us from Nevada, in the heat of Nevada. And I want to thank her new husband too for sharing Mary with us today. So Mary, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I hope that you guys can hear me. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Alan and Pramod for having us at this forum. And also thank you so much for these amazing speakers. Your stories inspire me so much, and you guys are so brave, to be here and sharing your stories. And Tara, and we have so similar stories, that's why I kept nodding in my head while you're sharing your life experience as a refugee. So thank you so much. Yeah, so Ellen has already introduced you to you guys that my name is Mary. I was born and raised in Thailand. When I tell people that I'm from Thailand, they think that I came from a big city, this beautiful cities with beautiful beaches. But it's where I came from is totally opposite. I have a picture that I really want to show you guys. I was born and raised in a refugee camp, and because there's a problem with my screen, I couldn't share the picture, so I may have to promote. Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you so much. So this is Thailand refugee camp. This is the map. And as you see, there's 2 countries that Thailand's really close to Myanmar, which I'll be sharing it to you guys later on. But so I don't know if you guys can see this big red dot here, that's the camp that I was born. And so in Thailand, Nella is not the only refugee camp, but there are 8 other camps in the refugee camp. I mean, in Thailand, if you see the red dots, these are the refugee camps. So Mela is one of the biggest camps in Thailand. There's about 35 to 45,000 people settling in Mela refugee camp, but right now, maybe the population may have changed. So that's a little idea. And so how did I end up in Thailand in the refugee camp? It started with my parents. They are originally from Burma, now also known as Myanmar. So here it's Myanmar. So some of you guys may not know where Myanmar, if you guys are wondering. So this is Myanmar, like I said, it's really next to Thailand, and also it closes to other countries as well. So India, China, Laos, Vietnam. So it's really close to other Asian countries as well. So like I said, my parents were born in Myanmar, the original country they're from. So how come they ended up in the Thailand refugee camp? How did we become a refugee? So, in about 1962 in Myanmar, they're trying to Burmanize the country because in Myanmar, uh, there are other ethnic cities. There's like 8 ethnicity. There's so Karen, that's my native language. So that's one of ethnicities in Burma. So Burma is going to Burmanize the whole country. And so my mom told me the story why they came to Thailand because Burmese military, they went to like Burmanize the country. So they will come into their village, drag to be little kids, like boys and girls. For the boys, they will make them to become like child soldiers. If it's for girls, they would like make them like sex slaves, and make them make them like carry guns and like do the things that we wouldn't want. If you resist them to do their work, they will like just like persecute you without hesitation. So there's a lot of like crazy things happened, and so my parent told them that it's not really safe for them to stay here. So the only option is for them to escape to a safer place. So the only place that they could think of is the refugee camp in Thailand. At that time in their generation, there were no transportation, but the only option is to walk to get to the Thailand refugee camp. As you see the map, Thailand and Myanmar, they may seem close to each other, but like to get there, it's a long distance, and they would spend days and days to get to the refugee camp. And my parents would tell me that a lot of people would die on the way from dehydration and starvation. Lastly, they made it to the refugee camp, and that's when that's where I was born. And another, like living in the refugee camp, it's not it's not a paradise. It's the place that like everyone like dream of. It's as you think of when you see a refugee camp, it is just very hard. Our camp is just surrounded with like barbed wires. Um, People we just stay there, and we weren't allowed to go anywhere. There's a barbed wire. If you do cross the wire, beyond that wire, you will get arrested. Sometimes they will just like persecute you. So you are not like, and if you want to go out of the camp, you have to have a legal document. Since we're refugees, we don't have that legal document, so we couldn't go anywhere but in the refugee camp. And also there were any hopes, like for our our younger people especially, we just go to school. When it's time, we come home. That was is our life is like a cycle. And also if we're done, like if we finish high school, there is no hope. A lot of like young girls would get married after they finish their high school. And also in terms of jobs, there weren't any jobs, and a lot of parents, they would just become like farmers, growing their own vegetables. and stuff. And like Tara has said, we have like some support from the United Nations that they will provide food on the monthly basis. But if you have like large household members, that's not sufficient for a month. And so we kind of have to like manage to survive. Every month. So, and also, like being in the refugee camp, we thought that it would be safe, we'll be like finally off of, running from the Burmese soldier for Burmese military. And that's what I thought, but it never ended. The Burmese soldiers still managed to come to our refugee camp. And I remember I was 10 years old and I was playing with my brothers downstairs. My parents were sitting in the front with us, and like suddenly there was a big bomb dropped in the village. It was so loud, and then there's a huge what's it called, siren that like turned on, like it's a sign that like we need to run. So as soon as that turned on, so I remember my dad grabbed my little brother and me, then we just started running to the trench. So in the refugee camp, every household needs to like have a trench. If something happened, we have a place to hide. So that's what happened. I remember, I would never forget that time. There was the people just started running and screaming, and I was 10-year-old girl. When there's a witness, there was somebody just got shot right in front of me, and I got so scared, and I was like, my little brother started crying, and I just started running the trench. I remember spending like 2 to 3 nights in the trench. We couldn't get out or eat. Like we had to literally starve ourselves while hiding in the trench. So those are some of the, like trauma that I had to go through. But long story but short, in 2007, and the United Nations, they started to bring in families in the United States. When I was a little, I'm like, I was never dreamed of coming to America. When I was a little girl, I would watch like Western movies, like seeing this like big city. That's all like, I saw in the movie. I would never expect that me coming to America. But so in 2007, like the UN said that the United Nations told us that if anyone interested coming to America, you have to apply. So my family did apply for it. It is not easy, you apply, then you come to America right away. It's not that simple. You have to go through a background check. You have to go through the medical checkup. So like if you do pass, there's a certain time that you have to wait. And if you do not pass medical exams, you have to wait 2 to 3 more years, before reapply again. But fortunately, our family passed. Then we had to go through the interview with our whole family, where people like interviewed you, ask you questions. And I remember they asked my parents, where do you want to go? What part of America do you want to go to? And I was like, as a kid, I was so confused. Like, oh, there's a parts of like like in America, like we were so confused. So they were like, there are like 50 states in America. You have to choose where you want to go. So like we couldn't think of anyone. Then they were like, do you have a friend that you know of? So my mom said, so we have a friend who lives. Then they were like, okay. So but we ended up in Connecticut, Hartford. So we're on our way coming to America, right? So we have to take 4 planes. I know all different families, they have different kind of experience. For mine, like, coming to, before coming to America, we had to take 4 planes, okay? Our journey, like at that time, we came with 2 other families, along, including our family, so 3 families, like on the plane. Like first or second plane, we were like fine with it, but the third and the fourth plane, we all got separated. We had to be on our own. Imagine coming to a big country, taking 4 planes, not speaking any English. It was so scary. Like, like I remember my parents, like my dad was holding my brother and sister, and like my mom, like carrying all those luggages, like trying to looking for our terminals, where to go to, so we won't miss our flight. But we're just kind of like, I don't know, like try to manage ourselves. But we finally got to the airport in Hartford, And then we had to look for people who picked us up. And, then I saw this sign saying that, welcome to Hartford, Connecticut. It was a big relief. So knowing that, we have arrived. So we have this agency, Tara, I think had mentioned that Catholic Charities, they're the agency that came to pick us up at the airport with the case manager. Then the case manager took us to our apartment. It's a huge complex. They kind of introduced themselves, kind of showed us around the apartment. And then afterward, then they left us, and we were just at the apartment trying to kind of adjust ourselves. And on the dining table, our case manager left us with this like a loaves of bread and a turkey. Then our whole family just looked at them like, what do we do with this, like loaf of bread and turkey? Because our traditional food, we eat rice, like on a daily basis. That's our like main food. Right now, it's totally different. What do we do with this? We were kind of like, I don't know, like, because and it was kind of hard. But we kind of, because we were starving at that time, we just ate whatever that we saw on the table. And also, at the, like arriving to the United States, we had to adjust so many things. And another example is it was because we came in September, it was starting to get chilly. Then around in like November, December, it started to get really cold, and our apartment was super cold, and our whole family was just all bundled up with layers of blankets. We didn't know what to do, and it got super cold at night. So then we had to call a friend, and then she came over to our apartment and said, "You did not turn on the heat. That's why your apartment is cold." And I was like, because we were telling that, because we didn't know how to do it, because, in the refugee camp, there is no other electricity, when it's cold, you put woods outside and just like sit next to the fire. But here it's totally different. So that's one of the things that we really had to adjust to. And also, but then afterward, then the next day, our caseworker, came over, took my sibling and I to school to register. So I went to public school, just like Tara. I went there, and along with my other two Korean friends, we were the only three at the huge public school. And as we walked in the school, everyone looked at us because we were different. We talked different. We act different. Everyone just looked at us like weird, like really weird. And at that moment, you just did not feel like welcoming, and you just did not fit in. I went to the public school for 2 years. I did not have a great experience. I got bullied so many times because, because of how I looked and the way I talked. I remembered, sitting at the cafeteria eating my lunch. There's a bunch of like group of students, they would throw trash in my food. And I got so scared, every time at lunchtime, I got really scared that, I had to eat in the bathroom. Because that's one of the hardest part that I had to go through, coming to, like started at a public school. Wow. So, I came home every day, crying, telling my mom that I just couldn't take it anymore. I just went to, switch to a new school. It's just like too much for me to handle. So I went to a church one day, saw this flyer saying that there's an open house as a Catholic school. So I was telling one of my friends at church, like there's an open house. I went to go there. Although like I didn't know how to express in English, but I showed her this. I went to go there. But so she took me to this open house at a Catholic high school. I went there, finished my 2 years, then I graduated from the Catholic high school and got my bachelor there. I mean, yeah, high school bachelor, yeah. But then, then I went after I graduated from high school. Then I went to University of St. Joseph, and I got my bachelor in social work. Just like Tara, I was the first child to graduate from University of St. Joseph, and now I'm really like very fortunate to be in America, you know, to be able to pursue my dream and finish that, you know, college. So I finished my college there. Then, you know, applied for a job at Catholic Charities, and that's where, you know, that's how I started when coming to America. So, you know, I just went to work and help out the refugees family, you know, who are new to the country. So I worked at Catholic Charities for 3 years. Then then I moved to Minnesota for just for, you know, to explore something else, and I got a new job there. So I'm right now I'm residing in Minnesota. And also I just, you know, got married. Who I got married to my best friend, who I've known him for 6 years. So it's great. And also, you know, like what did I some of the, you know, culture like shocking as coming to America would be, you know, like the hugging. I remember because, you know, when I arrived at the airport, right? So the first thing that, you know, like that my caseworker did, like he came to me and like hugged me, this big hug. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, because in our like culture, hugging is like physical hug, like touching it is not allowed unless if you are intimate relationship with the other person. That's when you give a hug. I'm like, I was so shocked. So like I don't know how to react. It was like one of the big shock for me. Um, and also, you know, and also another one would be like wearing shoes. And one day, you know, we have this like a prayer at our house. Then we invite this like American friends, you know, like the moment they open the door, they just walked in with their shoes. You know, I'm like, oh my God, you can't do that. You know, I was telling them that, you know, it is now like allowed in our like Asian household to wear shoes inside the house. So so some of the culture things that, you know, that shocked me. Um and also, you know, what did I learn from all that? You know, like I just want to say that I'm just proud to be a refugee, and I'm just very fortunate to be here in America because I have the voice to speak whatever I want, you know, without like, you know, like have to worry about what other like looking at me or like judging me. I can like speak freely. And, you know, like for the people that who are refugees, immigrant out there, that's how you should feel. You shouldn't be afraid. You are in America, so you are free to speak. Here, like freedom of speech, so you can like you may speak whatever you want, and also, you know, never give up, and don't let anyone pulls you down because, you know, you're different, and different is good because in America, you know, it's America is a melting pot. You know, everyone is from different country, and that's what makes America special. So and also, yeah, and also, you know, if you guys can also keep in your prayer like for like Burma, as you know, in Burma right now, as you Burma, like the Burmese military is, like, you know, trying to Burmanize the country. So there's a lot of people have died from fighting for democracy and freedom. So if you can, please keep them in our prayer. And also, because, you know, like my parents, you know, like my grandparents, they're in Burma. We can like keep in touch with them because what's going on in Burma, they cut the phone connection, so we're not able to kind of in touch with them. We don't really know where they are and how they're doing. And if you guys can, you know, keep them in your prayer and everyone in Burma. And so, you know, I share a lot of my, like, you know, like sad story, and also want to share my wedding picture, as because Alan mentioned I got married. I mean, like, you know, like a couple of weeks ago. I just want to share my wedding picture from Maud. If you can pull up that. Yeah, that's my our wedding picture, and that couple like a week ago. So yeah. And if you guys have any like Q&A, you're more than welcome to ask. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mary, and all of you, and Tara and Esam, and to me, it's very moving. And I have to say that Mary told a lot of things. We've been talking for a while, and I thought she was going to say some things, and I heard all kinds of new things. So that was very moving. Thank you. So yes, to all of you out there who are listening to us, we would all love if you'd ask questions or make comments or anything you'd like to say to the three speakers or question them. You can type into the Q&A, I believe. So I hope you'll all do that. Again, even though we can't see you and hear you, which is very bizarre.
Hello, this is Pramod. Yes. So I have one comment from Mike for Mary. It says, congratulations and thank you for sharing your time from your honeymoon. So that's for Mary. And Vanessa Vo, it's a question for Esam. Esam, what human rights issues are you currently working on?
Thank you so much for the question. So we work on I myself work on two different things. Number one, I still advocate and help my people in Egypt to stand for the dictatorship that we are witnessing right now, and I do this whether by sharing my experiences, using my network here in the United States to support, to push, to share the stories with politicians. Hopefully, will create any pressure, and also part of many Egyptian organizations that mainly work to put pressures on American politicians. Hopefully, will add this pressure to the Egyptian regime right now to at least release some of the political prisoners, which they hold tens of thousands of people in prison with no trial or charges whatsoever. So this is the first one. The second one, as we mentioned earlier, I'm the co-chair of West Hartford Human Rights Commission, and proudly we try to advocate for human rights in West Hartford. And our philosophy is how can we make human rights as a culture and in West Hartford include as many of our community members to the human rights culture as possible. And we do this through multiple layers and multiple issues, whether by community events or support other human rights organizations in West Hartford. Also trying to build a network of human rights commissions all over the state. Hopefully we'll be able to increase the awareness of human rights culture and principles around the state. Besides this, I'm also involved in many other, as a volunteer in the Muslim community where I belong, or other organizations that cares about social justice or interfaith efforts. So that's basically what I'm working on. That's all of this beside working on my PhD that cares or addresses the issue of democratization, not only in Egypt or not only in the US, but and all over the world, where democratization will conflict with military control and dictatorships. Thank you.
Thank you, Esam. I don't know if there are any other questions. Pramod, I'm not sure if I'm seeing the Q&A. So I don't know.
So yeah, we don't have any questions from the attendants right now. So.
Okay, then I'll just say a couple more words if that's okay. But please, we would love if people would comment or question some more. I just want to point out again a couple of things that struck me about what some of you were saying, and that I guess I'm concerned about, and maybe this is something that Esam and Pramod can be working on the Human Rights Commission, but how difficult it is in this area for some people to go to school. Mary talking about her school experience was very upsetting to me, and I know that I don't know if Tara had similar experiences in high school, but I know that even just going to college, she was feeling left out, and it's hard. I think here going to school, even though you can see what amazing, smart, and hardworking people they are. So it's one thing I think about because I'm a teacher. You know, how can we make schools here easier and better for people coming in? I am hoping that we're about to, and I actually know that this week and next week there's meetings going on in Connecticut to learn about this, but I think that we may be about to get new refugees and new immigrants brought, you know, more people allowed to come into our country and into our state, which is wonderful and amazing. But I think that we need to be thinking about how to welcome those people better, you know, maybe do a better job than we've done. And I think listening to these stories helps me think about it. You know, what do we need to do to make it a little bit easier for people? So that's one of the things I was thinking about. I guess if there's no other, is there another question?
Yeah. So there's a question from Mike. He says, how can local West Hartford people support local refugees right now? How can we build solidarity across different refugee communities?
I think that's a great question.
Does anyone would like to take
you want
it?
to answer that?
Yeah. Esam, Mary, Tara.
I can talk to it. There are in West Hartford, and I would say maybe all over Connecticut, we're so fortunate to have so many organizations like Golden Doors and other organizations who focus on helping refugees not only financially or physically of things they need, but also at the same time helping refugees how to integrate into the culture and help people like Mary when she was hugged in the airport. There's some different cultures between those two. So there are a lot of organizations who really care about that and help refugees to do that, integrate into the community. Also at the same time, help the local community here in West Hartford to understand the differences and how can they deal with refugees and understand the differences here and there, and also the trauma they're bringing and the hard stories they're bringing with them. So I think that and first of all, if you should reach out to one of those organizations, and I'm sure Ellen will share a lot with us, those organizations who do that. Also at the same time, if you will be able to educate more people and read more on the story, attend events like this, maybe help host an event like this, or share the stories with someone, listen to more refugee stories, and just increase the community awareness of how much trauma and hardship those refugees had to endure for them to decide to leave their home country and everything they loved behind. There are so many people who migrate for better opportunities and for work or whatever reasons, but the vast majority of people who decide to leave everything behind and everyone they ever loved behind and move to another place, it's a very hard decision and comes after a lot of suffering and painful experiences. So just open your heart and your mind, learn about those stories and share them with the community around you. I think that would be a great first step. The second step, reach out to one of those organizations and see what they do and be part of it. Thank you.
And what I want to say is, I don't know about West Hartford only, because I live in Hartford. Like me, like I'm involved in Golden Door, like I'm involved in Connecticut Immigration and Refugee Coalition. But especially for my parents, like our parents here, they don't have any places to go, you know. I don't know any organization for them because they cannot speak English. Like for Golden Door and other places, you know, like there are like people who speak English, but for my parents, they cannot communicate with anybody. So that's why people are moving to other state, because it's cheaper and also they have like larger community. And people who are, you know, coming to this country or like this place, I think we should have forum like this where we can like advise them, or like it's okay to be normal, you know. Sometime when I first came here, I was really worried about not knowing the language or like having an accent. For them, maybe we should like tell them like, or like they can involve in the organization, and we should make them aware like it's okay, you know, to make mistakes.
And also, to have like open hands, and and know that we're refugees, we are loving, we're caring, we're not people to be afraid of. And um, and and also, like to have like more organizations for the refugees. And also, I know that, like I said, Tara, I know because I lived in the in Connecticut too, in Hartford area for 11 years. And a lot of our parents who do not speak English need a lot of like supports and services, and because the language barrier, it's a huge impact. I mean, it's a huge issue. And because for that reason, a lot of fat parents, like families, they move to other states, for better services. Like for instance, for the current population, there are so many current populations in Minnesota because there's a big organizations, they the support for the families that who do not speak English, and also so like things like that. So if we can have that in Connecticut too, so we can there'll be more like refugees that coming, and they'll be like living there, comfortably. So yeah.
And also the same thing happened like a long time ago, like, people used to come from Nepal, and after they came here, they wanted to move to other state because they have more organization, they have like more resources in the community, like they have like in other state, they have organization where they can all get together, people from the same population, talk, play game, or they go hiking or some places together. But here we don't have those kind of resources. And also, we don't have Nepali store here in Connecticut. So even now, if we have to go to Nepali store, I always go to Massachusetts, like in Springfield or other state. I just get together with my friend and go other state for shopping. So we don't have those kind of things in Connecticut.
All right. So we have a comment from Cicely. What fascinating and wonderful people. Hope they find the time to write their stories and share them with a larger audience. Such brave and beautiful stories have to be known to more Americans. Thank you so much for all you've done and all you will be doing. Thank you, Cicely, for this wonderful comment.
Yeah, so we're I guess we're coming to the end of our I think 8:30 is our end, right, Pramod?
Yeah.
I wanted to share something really quickly, but I'll do that first and then thank everybody. Let me see if I can share my screen. I just want to say that we have more things coming up. I want to do a tiny advertisement. We're going to be having another speakers forum, I think, Promote in November, and we would love anybody who would like to participate in that to do that. And we're starting a book group that's going to be done at the West Hartford Library for sort of advanced English learners, and they're going to be discussing books, all different kinds of things, and hopefully it'll be a supportive group. And I'm going to share the person who will be leading that. Her name is Elizabeth. Let me see if I can do this. No, I think I lost it. Okay, well, hold on. I guess I would say maybe I will, where can I put my email address, Promote, in the chat or in the Q&A so people can get in touch with us? If they
You can put it on the chat, but while you are typing it up, I will read another comment from Vanessa.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Tara, Mary, and Esam, for sharing your stories. You help us all grow in our understanding of immigrants, refugees, asylum experience, and humanity. Thank you, Vanessa, for sharing this wonderful comment.
Okay, I'm just sticking my email address there for anybody who's interested in any of this, because I feel like we're running out of time, and I will if you email me, I can send you to Tara or Mary or Promote or Esam. And if you're interested in any of the programs that Golden Door is doing or that the West Hartford Library is doing, I can send you there too. And I just want to add my own personal thank you to Esam and Tara and Mary, and to Promote, who never thanks himself, but is also doing amazing things around here for all kinds of immigrants, and he's been doing it for years. I guess I just want to say that, yeah, you guys are amazing. It's very, very moving listening to you. I learn from you all the time. I'm happy that you're my friends, and I don't know what else to say. I think it's really important for people to hear what you have to say, and I think I'm going to follow up to think about more things we can do for your parents, because I think about that a lot, and I know that it's really difficult to be here if you can't speak English, and I struggle with that. And as you all know, I'm sad that people like Mary and Tara and their families are moving away from Connecticut. And I know they're going to be happy where they're going, but I'm going to miss them. So I would love to think with Promote and Esam about what we do with Tara and Mary's advice to make it better for people here, and to keep learning from you guys, because you have a lot to teach us. So thank you guys, and thank you to all the people who are listening. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Esam, Mary, and Tara, for sharing your story and enlightening us with everything that's going around. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Thanks to the audience. Thank you. And you have a very nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.